You're listening to the Coventry Sphinx podcast. You can follow the fortunes of our football club on Twitter, where we're at Coventry Sphinx or at coventrysphinx.co.uk. If you like the show, please take a moment to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a rating or a review. For more podcasts from Sphinx Football, visit sphinxfootball.com.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Coventry Sphinx podcast with me, Chris Nee, and Shaun Thomas, one of the joint first team managers at the club. This is a podcast about a football club from one Saturday to the next and everything in between. No Shaun this week because I've lined up a player instead, but we haven't focused on recent matches themselves, which is just as well. Last Monday we were back at Romulus where a 2-0 loss felt like a bit of a wake-up call, and then on Saturday we played Lye Town at home and lost 3-1. We can't have any complaints about that result and there's work to be done. In better news, this week also brought us the draw for the first round proper of the Bill Base FA Vars. On October the 31st, we'll be reacquainting ourselves with Lye Town, who were in our division for a little while not so long ago. That's a massive game for us, and it's at home, and it's not one to miss. On to this week's podcast. Since the start of the season, I've wanted to spend some time talking to Guesty, one of our first team defenders. Not about the present necessarily, but because he's been part of the club since he was 6 years old. After the game against Lye, that's exactly what we did.
I've given Shaun a week off, so I needed to bring in someone else to talk to, and Guesty's been good enough to step up to the plate. We are going to go all the way back to the beginning, but let's start with the present. You've had a long wait because of your suspension. It must feel, broadly, not necessarily today, generally pretty good to be back out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a frustrating start to the year for me on a personal level. Obviously, put myself in that position at the end of last year to pick up a hefty suspension. Then with COVID, obviously it would have been done before the end of the season. But with COVID, obviously that got carried into the start of this year. So it felt like forever. Probably the longest pre-season I'll ever have, I think. And trust me, pre-seasons aren't getting any easier. But yeah, I think certainly been good to be back. Obviously that's four starts now, I think, in the last sort of 10, 11 days. But yeah, obviously love being back out there. Sort of part of a great squad this year. Really, really pleased to be back out there. Obviously, disappointing result today, but obviously go again.
You were the only player at the start of this season who still had a parachute on his back.
I've still got that parachute on my back. I don't think I'll ever lose that parachute. But yeah, I mean, I was doing way into the start of season. I was still doing the parachutes at training, still doing the extra running after sessions, after games, trying to get involved in warm-ups. And yeah, I mean, it was a frustrating, 6 games in total, watching the lads, and in some really, really good games. Obviously, we had FA Cup games, and they're never ones you want to miss. I mean, Ilkeston with their following coming here, yeah, it hurt a little bit. Like, you don't want to miss them games. And obviously, I know a couple of people on the sort of Ilkeston side of things, and would have been nice to play against them. But yeah, it's done now, and obviously you learn from that moving forward. And I've sort of got to take a bit of a different perception when, I suppose, talking to referees and that type of thing this year. And I suppose I'm not the oldest, but I'm getting towards one of the older ones in the squad now. We've got a lot of good young lads coming through. So I've got to sort of set an example alongside some others.
Let's rewind then. We're very proud of our junior section at the club, and you're proof that it works. So you joined at 6 or 7?
Yeah, 6 years old, yeah.
So you're a Sphinx boy?
Yeah, born and bred, I think. Not actually from this side of Coventry, but I think Sphinx, when I was a kid, obviously it was my dad's choice at that time, but they had such a good reputation for doing things in the right way. Obviously, I think at junior level it's probably changed a lot now, and I'm not obviously very close to it at the moment, but I think back then there was always Sphinx had a very positive reputation for doing things the right way. You had a lot of managers that were all to win, and it's not all about that at that age. And that's why my dad probably pushed me to go towards the Sphinx, and ultimately I probably wouldn't have known any otherwise at that stage. But yeah, it started over at Finham Park School on a Saturday morning with I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was John, and there was just you know masses of 6-year-olds running around kicking a ball, and then started from there, and here I am today.
If you think from 6 through to like 16, 17, was it a good place to learn football? Would you recommend it now that you're a parent as well?
Oh, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. I think you can even see it from sort of Danny and Joey's enthusiasm from top to bottom. I remember Danny leading presentation nights, and there was just hundreds of kids, parents in one room, and it was it was from top to bottom with one club, and I think that still lives on today, to be honest. Obviously it's a lot harder, particularly now, to get that many people in one place, but yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, I'd 100% recommend. And obviously my little girl at the moment just got the one, but if she wants to play football, I don't think I'd look anywhere else.
Would you have played with the same sort of players all the way through the youth ranks? I guess they fall off year by year a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, some of them. There's probably a handful of us that we've actually gone all the way through together, or a couple of lads like year below, like even Downsy today. I knew he was a Sphinx lad, albeit we were a couple of years apart. I was slightly older, but in the past you've had your Jackson Downies. In my age group there was like the Reece Deans of the world. We were all Sphinx lads sort of growing up. Liam Rock, them type of players. They were all sort of Sphinx boys growing up, and we had some great times like going away and Bournemouth weekends away. And we were always my team as a as a junior we were good, but we always used to sort of get to the final and then we'd fall slightly short against a better team. But no, we had a really good side, and I think towards the end we were pushing. Our biggest rivals were sort of Christ the King, I think, all the way through. We used to just get edged out, and then by the end of it we managed to master it, and we got over them. But yeah, I mean, the weird thing is, I look back now and I think some of the lads that were highly rated when you're growing up, and I'm sure it's the same for like all the other lads in their junior teams, and everyone was like, God, he's the star, he's going to make it, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, he'll play at a high level. They sort of, I think it's when you hit those sort of teenage years, they sort of drop off and other interests come into play, girls, beer, that type of thing. And yeah, but still keep in contact with a lot of lads that I've played with growing up.
We all talk about football philosophy now, and you've mentioned that it wasn't necessarily all about winning. The focus here was player development, or a bit of both?
Definitely player development was the sort of key focus. I think naturally you want to play and win. Certainly when you get to an older age, probably 10 and above, you know what you want to do as an individual. You want to win games and that type of thing, I think. But from a Sphinx Football Club perspective, it was all about improving players, having successful teams, but making sure that we were bringing as many strong players through as possible. It wasn't. It was a squad focus. It was never just I need to play my best 11 to win the game. Yeah, I think that still is the case. I mean, I know Tom Cudworth does a lot of work with Soccer Rocks, and I don't know I don't have the full understanding of how that works, but you can see that there's just so many hungry children that want to play football coming in and around the Sphinx Club, and I mean it only bodes well for the sort of as they grow up and the older teams. Then you sort of under 9s, under 10s, under 11s. I think it's a really positive sign, and you know what? Even like look at our youth team this year. I mean, what's that? Another four in the squad today, 5 in the squad. 3 started, I think, on Monday night. I'm sort of guessing at the numbers, but I think that speaks for itself. Really, you can probably, ask the other lads in there and ask the youth boys themselves, and I think they'd sort of say a similar story to what I'm saying here.
Are you young enough to have played in the small-sided formats up to under 9s and under 11? It was 11 aside when I was 8 years old.
No. Yeah, I was whatever it was, 6 aside, 7 aside, and then I think they've actually brought in now a 9 aside, but that wasn't around when it was straight from sort of 7 aside to 11 aside, and it was sort of get onto a local park pitch on a Sunday morning, and it was a big jump, and I think that's where teams, certainly like even successful teams at under 7s, under 8s, under 9s, they're not always as successful, should we say, once that transition. But we were always quite fortunate, I think. We had 2 quite strong teams. They called it Sphinx Red and Sphinx Blue then, not sort of first team, second team. It was Sphinx Red and Sphinx Blue, and we were always we had 2 really competitive sides, but they were sort of treated as different, like separate teams.
I think you won a few things.
Yeah, definitely. I always remember Bedworth Nursing Cup. We had a real tight game. It was, and I say it was us and Christ the King. We were always chasing them in the league. Every final, it was us v Christ the King. It was that sort of format. It was like, unless we got drawn in the earlier rounds, you know who you were meeting, sort of thing at the end. And it was no surprise when you got there on the day and you were facing them again. But we Bedworth Nursing Cup with the Sphinx, a league. I think we got into towards the back end. Yeah, I mean, it it's hard to actually remember now. You test my memory, but yeah, no, we did win a few trophies, and I always remember the tours being the highlights of like my younger years. And I don't know if I'm guessing they still go ahead now. I wouldn't know, but I remember being absolutely gutted the one time, and we'd absolutely stormed the group, flew into the final, but on the other side of the draw was this team, and I can't remember where they were from, but they were set of big lads, absolutely destroyed their sort of side of it, and I think we got nipped 1-0 in the final, but it was gutting. But yeah, no, we always fell short on the tours, but yeah, no, we managed to win a few things.
I was told by your dad that you followed the first team.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so when I must have been sort of 14, 15 at the time, and we were always season ticket holders at the City, and used to go week in, week out, and it got that mind-numbing expensive for what you were watching that we sort of like come away from it. And I started playing on Saturday morning in the Midland Premier for Sphinx, and it sort of got to the stage of what should we do with our Saturday afternoon then? So yeah, I think we come to a couple of home games at first, and then sort of got the bug for it, and yeah, you sort of, Woody was in the side at the time, so obviously that's where I first sort of got introduced to him, but he was sort of probably 18, 19 at the time, before he had his sort of step up into a few higher teams. Kyle Rhodes, which obviously many people know at the Sphinx, we used to watch him. Jabba, Terry Ward, all of them, like that. Still, you see them around the club all the time now, and a lot of them have actually, Adi Fisher, a lot of them have got back involved. Casey, obviously he's out in Dubai now, but yeah, I mean, we used to follow them. It was a case of finish my game, quick shower, and drive to wherever it was, and we used to follow it home and away. Like obviously we've got a very well respected small following that we really appreciate still now, and we got like a bit of a bug for it, and there was places like Gornal Athletic and that type of thing, and we used to go all sorts of places. And the league's actually changed quite a lot now since back then, or I believe, obviously I wasn't playing at the time, but there's a lot of different teams, and obviously sadly some teams drop out with financial backing and that type of thing, but then also a lot of new teams. Some of the teams we've seen in this league now over the last sort of 4, 5, 6 years, Herefords, them type of teams, it's a very, very tough league, very competitive league, and I'm sure like Callum and those type of people that have played in it many years, they'd definitely agree. You've got probably lads in our league now that really we all know deep down that should be playing, if not one, maybe two leagues above. And sometimes obviously the ease of less travelling and a bit of decent money can control that, I suppose, at the moment. But it's definitely something like me and my dad always remember, and yeah, it was good. And obviously, like now when I play, I totally appreciate all the supporters that come and watch, because we've got neighbours that play in the same league, so they obviously attract a lot of people from Coventry, and obviously Coventry City, where the likes of Ilkeston, a small condensed place where there's not sort of a major team around them, they get a real good following.
Do you consider yourself a Sphinx fan now?
I think it's ingrained, isn't it, I suppose. Fan, player, probably to be fan after I stopped playing.
So you started playing for the first team at 17?
Yeah.
Under Luke Hopkins?
Yeah, Luke Hopkins was the manager at the time. I actually took, for the youth team, I went and played, no, don't slate me for this, I went and played for Stratford for the first year of my youth football. We had a really, really good side. We won the league, and there was a bit of an upset between the management there and the sort of committee, and the team sort of fell flat on its face. So I came back to play for the youth team at Sphinx here with Wayne Whitehouse at the time, who many people know was always involved with the Sphinx. Nigel Starkey, I think, was involved at the time. And yeah, we was playing for the youth team, ticking along, and I think at the time the first team weren't having the best of run, falling short, similar to what we have now, when you've got a squad and then injuries, suspensions, unavailable players hits, you sort of get called upon. And I actually I got my chance to start, and I had quite a good run, and I had a really successful first year with the Sphinx. We were really struggling when I started, and the team managed to pull together, and we were sort of odds on to go down at one point, and we managed to stay up really on going right. I think it went pretty much down to the wire. And I ended up winning a few votes at the end of the season. I think I picked up a couple of awards. I think it was me and Ricky Cutting was playing up front at the time. And we were sort of neck and neck with the trophy. So it was a really good, positive first year. And then, so that was the start really at 17. And then obviously following that, I obviously made the decision to go off to university. So it was quite a big thing with travelling back every week and Tuesday nights and that type of thing. So I had a couple of years, I had probably 3 years, I think it was. I joined Dunkirk initially because I was in Nottingham. And then we played against Shepshed on I think it was the Boxing Day actually of that year. And Shepshed asked me to go over and have a look and have a conversation. And then I joined Shepshed, and I was there then for probably the best part of 3 years, which is, again, really, really good club. I had a bit of a nasty injury whilst I was there. I did my ACL. So I was out for I think it was about 16 to 18 months in the end, which was, again, another frustrating period, but makes you a bit stronger, doesn't it? And you come back from that. And then I then had a conversation, and I think it was it under Nibbo, or was it just before Nibbo started? I then came back to the Sphinx and been here since. So I think it's probably 3-4 years maybe now I've been back.
Did you have a couple of appearances just in the middle somewhere as well? Did you play for Dots at one point?
Yes, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Dots. I've known Dots for many years. Obviously playing with Scott at different places, but we were both at Coventry for a couple of years as kids, and sort of got to know Dots there. And came back, and then I went off to Loughborough again, which was the first time playing in sort of step 4. Bit of a rough time with them. We didn't do very well at all, but again managed to just sort of stay up with the skin of our teeth. Then sort of came back and have been back at the Sphinx then ever since.
So you had that time away because you were at university. You made a success of uni football as well, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. Obviously I've got a lot of time for everyone at the Sphinx, but certainly some of my greatest memories now, I think, still sit with uni football and the level and the standard. I think some people from the outside don't always respect it, but the level certainly these days is sort of second to none. And there's a lot of connections with sort of the pro game now and people joining in after university football. But we had so there was Jack Edwards, who's an ex-Sphinx lad. He was at uni when I first went up, and he sort of said, look, you've got to get involved. And obviously I wanted to, so got in. And I think as you go through, there's thousands of people at these trials. It's like an absolute free-for-all. You sort of get a 30-minute slot to try and I mean, you've seen me play. I'm not exactly Pele or Ronaldo. I'm not going to go and do 10 step overs and put one in the sort of the top corner. But got sorted with the trials, and then I think I was in the 4th team originally or something like that for the first game. Had a pretty good game first game. Next thing you know, the second team wanted me, so I went to the second team, and I spent majority of that year then with the second team. But then got a call up to the first team. Again, played pretty well. I think got MOM on my first game, and was with them then ever since. On sort of, they had a lot of lads that played like sort of the National League, so you had a lot of lads that were really, really well respected. Really good team. Took it to the wire the first year, but we fell short slightly. Second year we again pretty similar, pretty strong, but at this point we were in Division 1, so we weren't in the top league with your sort of your Durhams and your those type of universities and your Loughboroughs. And then I finished second year, and I took a year out to do a work placement, so I wasn't allowed to play the football. And then I went back in my 4th year, and we had a really, really good year. We won the league, and then it was a bit funny. So you sort of win the league, but you actually have to play a playoff then to go into the top league. So it's yourself, top of the other sort of region, if you like, and then the bottom of the Prem. Mm-hmm. And that's where we'd sort of fell short previously, basically. But we actually beat our neighbours, University of Nottingham. But then they managed to stay in the top league through beating the other team, and likewise. But we went up, and then I finished then on a real high, if you like, with my sort of undergraduate. And I sort of fell a bit fortunate, but there was a lot of funding then from Nottingham Trent going into sports at the university, and I managed to sort of be offered a scholarship then to stay on and do a master's, which was really good. And at that point then, they were sort of attracting lads in from, like your Lincolns. I think we had a couple of lads from Scunthorpe, Colchester. These were all from their exit trials. And all of a sudden, we had a team that you were like, whoa. And we were playing like football that, like, no disrespect to the Midland Premier League, but you go to some places you wouldn't even dream of playing on that type of football. But, I don't know if you've seen them, but the university pitches are all pretty sharp. And, yeah, we had a really good year. We won our varsity and we won the Prem that year as well. So sort of my uni football sort of finished the last 2 years on an absolute high. And you know, some of the long coach journeys on a Wednesday when everybody else is at work, you're travelling back from like Durham after winning 2-0 with the lads. You can only imagine what it was like. But no, it was really good. And I definitely, even now, if some of the younger lads were talking to me about university, I'd say you've got to get involved, no matter what university you're at. Some obviously are better than others, but I think I was quite fortunate in the time that I joined Nottingham Trent, you know, that it was a key part of their philosophy, if you like, to invest in sport.
I think that was under Noel Whelan.
Yeah.
That must have been something for a Coventry City season ticket holder.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got vague memories of Noel Whelan at sort of Highfield Road.
Sorry, I forget how young you are.
Yeah, very vague, but it was more sort of Robbie Keane for me. But my dad has got, obviously, he remembers pretty well. But yeah, so obviously you can imagine Noel's experience, his changing room approach. So we had a very technical coach, Alessandro Bacciarini, who's actually gone on to be part of the Leeds United setup now, and he's sort of, I think he's head of under 23 goalkeeping or something along those lines. But he's doing really well. Obviously, got promoted last year, but really sort of studied the game. And so you had him as the sort of manager with Noel as the coach, and the two really worked well together. Alessandro actually moved on then for the final year, but Tom Shaw, who's an ex sort of pro, came in, sort of Cambridge United, Lincoln, those type of teams, and yeah, Noel and him again worked really, really well. But I wouldn't like to tell you some of the stories Noel had to tell us, but you can only imagine what it was like. And you know, just to be in and around somebody that's sort of been there, done it, pretty much. Okay, he could have probably maybe done international level, but he's played in the Premiership. I mean, just to sort of learn from those type of people, and you know, even he was so keen to get involved in training. Yeah. It was like, like a lot of coaches, they'll sort of let you get on with it, tell you what to do. He was like leading the way, and he didn't give two whether he went through someone. He was at the front of it all. But no, yeah, he's not. And I still speak with Noel now every now and then. You know, I don't actually think he's at the university anymore, but he's playing. He's got quite a. He's obviously on the Leeds. I think BBC Radio Leeds. He's doing a lot of like the commentary and stuff like that. So yeah. He's a really good guy. Really lucky to sort of work alongside him, really.
Rejoined us a few years ago. You are now vice-captain. You've been here You've been here a lot longer than I have. So I'm dying to ask about your ambitions for the club. Where do you want this place to go in the rest of your career?
Oh, God, I think my ultimate ambition would be to be part of, you know, something with the club where we could get to the next level. Because for me, and I'm sure there's many people in our team, Woody, Crossy, those type of people, Liam Kay, they've all played at, if not one level, certainly two levels above. And I just think it's, you know, it starts to feel a little bit more professional, if you like. And I think, like I say, the quality of this league is getting, without a doubt, there's definitely been improvements in terms of quality. But I just think, you know, you go to some really nice places like Sheffield FC, the oldest football club in history, and like those type of places, it's really good. I think that would be my ultimate ambition. But we'll see. Like I've got so much respect for the way sort of this football club's ran, because you've seen it in the past, and you know, you speak to a lot of people and hear a lot of rumours around the leagues. I think you've seen some clubs give it a real go 1 year, 2 years, and then 3 years later they've not got a club. Whereas I think, you know, there's many people in the room over there that are proud to sort of, you know, proud of the history behind the Sphinx, and the way the club's ran is like, it's very welcoming and approachable. But yeah, I think it'd be great to be part of a competitive squad that goes and really sort of challenges for the title. And I mean, obviously there's a long way to go this year. I'm not sort of writing it off or anything like that. Obviously we need to sort of pick up after a couple of iffy results this week. But yeah, we've just got to see where we can go. I think that's my ultimate goal there.
Thanks again to Guesty for this week's chat. We haven't had the best of weeks at Coventry Sphinx, but there's no let up. We've certainly got a pair of big games ahead of us now. On Tuesday, we're at home against Selston, which is rearranged from what should have been our first league game of the season. Then on Saturday, we're off up the motorway again for an away match at Newark, where it didn't go so well for us last year. So there'll be plenty to talk about, I'm sure. That's all for this week. Shaun Thomas and I will be back in 7 days or so to catch up again. See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Coventry Sphinx podcast, a Sphinx football production. For more of our podcasts, visit sphinxfootball.com.